17 years with Mr. Cardan and I could read a room before I was through the door. I read the Vantara auction wrong, not the threat. I caught that early before most of the detail team. What I read wrong was her. The Vantara spring auction was not Mr. Cardan's usual circuit. He attended because the foundation had acquired a collection of illustrated manuscripts that were being auctioned to fund the archive restoration, and he had been asked to represent the foundation's interests as a floor buyer. His mother had helped establish the foundation. He attended when asked. It was understood. The auction house held approximately 300 guests that evening. Security on our side was standard. Myself at close position, 2 additional team members on perimeter, and Hollander on the car. The auctioneers had their own people. The Vantara house had been doing these events for decades, and their security protocols were professional. The evening should have been unremarkable. She was working the room as a floater for the catering company, not the formal waitstaff. The informal floaters who circulate with drinks and light plates between lots. She had a narrow tray, black uniform, hair back, mid-20s. I noticed her the way I notice everyone, cataloged and set aside. Not relevant. The bidding on the early lots was orderly. Mr. Cardan was seated in the 5th row, center. He bid on 2 lots in the first session, acquired 1. The room was warm, as auction rooms always are, with 300 people in them, and the auctioneer kept a brisk pace. I noticed she had come around a second time on his side of the room, which is the kind of thing I notice because it's my job. But floaters do circle back. It wasn't unusual. She circled a 3rd time and didn't offer a drink. She was moving, looking at something, not at the stage. I tracked what she was tracking. 2 men in the 9th row right side, well-dressed, which at an auction means nothing. One of them had not bid once and had been making notes on what appeared to be a program. The other one had moved 3 times in 45 minutes and was currently positioned directly behind Mr. Cardan at an angle. She had noticed something that I had partially noticed and had not yet categorized. I began to watch the 9th row more carefully. The intermission came between the 1st and 2nd sessions. 20 minutes, open bar, guests moving. This is the highest risk window in a room like that. People standing, position shifting, attention dispersed. I stayed at close position. Mr. Cardan moved to the east bar to speak with the foundation's director. She appeared beside me, not close enough to be flagged as approach. Floater distance, professional. She kept her tray level. She said without looking at me, in a voice calibrated for one person, "The man in the gray jacket, 9th row, has been photographing the floor plan on the back of his program." I looked at her. She kept her eyes forward. She said, "The one who moved to the center seat has been mapping the exit positions. I have been in catering for 4 years, and those 2 are not interested in the auction." I said nothing for a moment. She said, "I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm telling you in case there is something you can do about it that I can't." Then she moved away, circulating with her tray as if she had offered me a smoked salmon blini. I had Hollander call in a request for a secondary check on the 9th row within 3 minutes. I repositioned the perimeter team to cover the east corridor exit. I shortened Mr. Cardan's exposure at the bar, moved him back to his seat earlier than planned, and put myself between him and the 9th row for the remainder of the event. The 2 men left during the 2nd session's intermission, separately, through different exits. Hollander confirmed from the vehicle feed that they had been picked up by a car that had no reason to be in the delivery lane at that hour. The security coordinator for the auction house ran their entry credentials after I raised the flag. One name was clean, one was not. Neither man was present for the final session. Mr. Cardan completed his foundation obligations and we left without incident. In the car, he asked me what had happened with the repositioning during the 2nd session. He noticed these things. I told him we had identified a potential surveillance situation and had managed it before it became anything further. He asked how I had identified it. I said, "One of the catering staff flagged it to me during the intermission." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Which one?" I described her. He said nothing else on the drive. The next morning he told me he wanted the name of the catering company and the name of the floater, if I could find it. The catering company had 11 floaters on the Vantara night. I pulled the shift rosters and narrowed it by description. Dark hair, black uniform, circulated the east quadrant of the room across both sessions. Her name was Nora. She had been with the company for 4 years, as she had said. Her reviews from the company were uniformly professional and reliable. She was not a person anyone would look at twice. Mr. Cardan had the foundation director's assistant send a formal thank you letter to the catering company, addressed to the specific floater. He told me the letter should specify what she had contributed and that her attention had been material to the evening's security outcome. I wrote the language myself because he told me to make it accurate, and I was the one who knew exactly what had happened. She received the letter and, according to the shift coordinator at the company, was quiet for a while after reading it and then said, "He didn't have to do that, Mr." Cardan asked 2 weeks later if I could find out whether she would be available to speak with him. I found out she was. He met her at a coffee shop near the company's scheduling office. Not his usual environment. He chose it because it was her neighborhood, which I noted as significant. I was outside. I do not know what was said. I know the meeting lasted about 40 minutes and that she came out first, and that she had the expression of someone who has just been treated with an attention they were not accustomed to and are still processing what to do about it. He came out a few minutes later. He walked to the car. He said she asked me 3 direct questions. I said, "What did you do?" He said. I answered them. I said nothing. He said, "She said she reads people in rooms because that is how you stay safe in rooms, and she has been doing it since she was old enough to know she needed to." She said she didn't tell me anything remarkable that night, just something useful. I said, "That is what I said in the letter." He said, "Yes." She found that funny. He was not a man who often said things like that about conversations. He asked about her background after that, not intrusively, through the normal channels I use for anyone in proximity to him. She had grown up in a careful household, the word careful being shorthand in my notes for a home where she had learned early to read shifts in the room. She had put herself through a qualification in event hospitality. She had been with the same catering company for 4 years without incident and with good reviews. She had no family money and no connections. She was not anyone who would have been found at the Vantara auction except by the accident of a catering contract. He found reasons to speak with her 3 more times before the winter. Once was a second auction event where she was on the floor again. Twice were meetings he arranged directly, once at a lunch and once at an exhibit she had mentioned she wanted to see but hadn't gotten to yet. He told me about the exhibit because he needed to know whether he had been the one to mention it or whether she had, and I told him she had. When she mentioned she had been reading about the restoration of a particular collection, he said she went. I said she did. He said, after a moment, "Good." By January, he was no longer tracking reasons. He simply told me his schedule included her, and I updated the schedule accordingly. She navigated his world with the same quiet competence she brought to an auction floor. She noticed the things worth noticing. She did not make a performance of noticing them. And when something was off in a room, she addressed it without drama and moved on. The people in his orbit who attempted to assess or dismiss her, there were a few. There are always a few. Found that she had a way of looking at them that did not register the hierarchy they were trying to establish, not confrontationally, simply from a vantage point that didn't include the hierarchy. It made them uncomfortable, which in his world was not an unusual reaction to the truth. He proposed in April at her apartment, which was not his usual way of proceeding. He told me afterward that he had wanted to do it on her ground. She said yes without the pause he had been prepared for. She said she had made her assessment early, and she had not changed it. He married her in June, small private, his mother present, the foundation director present, myself as a witness. At the reception she was talking to his mother when I arrived with the car. His mother was laughing at something she had said. I had not heard his mother laugh at an event in 3 years. She caught me watching and raised her glass slightly. Not a toast, just an acknowledgement that I was there, the same acknowledgement she had given me at the intermission of the Vantara auction when she said, "I'm not telling you anything you don't know." She was right then, too. I had known from the moment she moved away with her tray that she was the most competent person in that room who didn't have a title for it. I had just filed her wrong. I don't do that anymore.